Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you more tips for working in Photoshop. I'm going to show you some selection tricks here. So if you use any selection normally, you create a selection and you want to create another selection, but the problem is the first selection we just made disappeared. And now to stop that from happening, you can press this here, this add to selection button here. I'm going to press that. Now if I make a selection, I can make another one, and the first one doesn't disappear. Now let's say I wanted to remove a selection. What I'd do is I'd hold Alt and I'd go around the selection I wanted to remove. Like that. So I'll just show you again. I'm going to hold Alt, as you can see here. It's got that little minus sign. That plus switches to a minus. Now if I go around, that selection's now disappeared. But there is one other way we could have done that, and that is to go over to this selection here on the left, press Shift and Alt. You see there's an X there, as you can see. Now go around that. See, that one remains, but the one on the right's disappeared again. So that's another way to do that. So often I'll be working on something and I'll have lots of different selections in different places. I'll just create a bunch of random shapes here. Let's say I wanted to keep this square that we have selected here, but I also want to get rid of all these selections here. Now one way to do it would be to just go around all the other selections like this. And that's done the job. But it'll be a bit faster if I just pressed Shift and Alt like I showed you before, and then go around the square. So you hold Shift and Alt and then go around it. I'll do that again. It's got that X symbol there, so you know it's working. See, it's removed everything except the square. So that's quite useful. It's just slightly faster. And that's something I use quite a bit when I'm working on my own stuff. What I'm going to do here is show you how to use a linked file. I'm going to go to File and Place Linked. And I'm going to select the file, which in this case is an Adobe Illustrator file, and I'm going to place it in Photoshop. So if I double click on this linked icon here, it will take me to my Adobe Illustrator file, as you can see here. And if I make a change to this document, it will reflect in Photoshop. And I'm going to make that clear by showing you. So what I've done here is I've put both programs up next to each other. So here we have Illustrator on the right and Photoshop on the left. And now with this Illustrator document on the right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a change to one of the colours. So let's say I change that red to a blue, and if I press Ctrl S to save it, that save should be reflected in the Photoshop file. So let's see if that works. I'm going to press Ctrl S to save. Yes, and as you can see, the Photoshop file has just updated to reflect the change I just made. And let's say we want to change the star so that there is less of them. I'll do that. And I'll change maybe the colour again. I'll give it a stroke maybe. And I'll make that a bit bigger. And if I save this, again, it should be showing that in the Photoshop document because they're linked. I'll just give it a few seconds. Yes, it's updated, which is good. That's what we wanted. So this can be useful because it saves you time. If you do something in Illustrator, you can put it in Photoshop, and then all you have to do is make tweaks in Illustrator, and they will be updated in Photoshop, as you've just seen. So let's do something else here. We'll add something to this. Just add a circle, anything. Give it the same appearance as the star, and then press Ctrl S. Yeah, as you can see, it's just updated in Photoshop, which is good. So what can sometimes happen is, with these linked files is, you can get a question mark, as you can see here. And what that means is, Photoshop cannot locate that file. What I did to demonstrate this is I moved the location of the Adobe Illustrator file to somewhere else, and that confuses Photoshop because it cannot locate that file. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click and click relink to file. I'm going to find that file, and then I'm going to press place and then OK. And as you can see, that question mark has gone. So something to note is that even when Photoshop cannot locate the destination of that linked Illustrator file, it will not delete the layer. You will still have a copy of it in Photoshop. As you can see here, even though it can't locate the file, it's still there, we can still see it, it's just not linked anymore. So again, like I showed you just before, I'll right click, relink to file, find that file again, and then place. And it's linked again. So what I'd advise you to do is, if you're going to save your Photoshop document onto like a pen drive or something, a USB, you'd want to also save the linked file to that same USB drive. So for me it would be the Illustrator file. You can actually link other Photoshop files as well, which I'll show you now. So I'm going to place a Photoshop file into this document as a linked file. So I'm going to go to File, Place Linked, and then select the file I want, and it's a Photoshop file this time. And as you can see, it's got that linked file icon there, and it's just as one layer. So that's a pretty good way to bring a Photoshop file into another one without bringing all the layers into it. And if I click on that linked file icon, it should open up the Christmas tree document. Which it has here, which is what we wanted. Let's say I wanted to colour within this green square. So how I'd go about doing that is I'd go over to where it says lock here, and it says lock transparent pixels. So what I could do here is go around with the lasso tool and then fill it with a colour, like red. And as you can see, it's coloured within the square. And the selection isn't perfect, but let's say another colour. See, it's all remained within the square. And if we hadn't had this lock transparent pixels button clicked, anything we did would go outside the square. But the problem with this is I don't like to work on one layer. I like to keep things editable. So what I'm going to do is go to the layer above. This is what I prefer. And then I'd hover in between these two layers and hold Alt. And as you can see, what this is going to do is it's going to create a clipping mask when I press Alt and then in between both layers and then left click. And now I'm going to create any random shape with the lasso tool and then fill it, Alt backspace. As you can see, it's remained inside the green square. And that's done on two different layers. And if I unclip this group, hold Alt, as you can see there's an icon to unclip these layers. So I'm going to press that now. And as you can see, that orange shape does actually go outside the square. But because we're clipping it, it's confined to the dimensions of the square. As you can see, the green square text is underlined, meaning it's a clipped layer. And I'll undo that. So another way to do that is by using layer masks. So what I'm going to do is targeting the orange shape layer here, is I'm going to go to layer masks. If I just click on it, it will give me a white mask here. But I don't want that. I want it to be black. So I'm going to hold Alt and then click on the mask button here. And now it's black. What that's done is it's created a mask to hide the orange shape layer. So if I disable it, you can see it's still there, it's not deleted. Black will conceal and white will reveal. So to demonstrate that, I'm going to target the green square layer and I'm going to hold Control and I'm going to click on the layer icon here, as you can see. And now on targeting the layer mask, I'm going to fill it with white. So that would be Alt and backspace. And as you can see, the orange shape is now visible. So if I just press Shift and click on the layer mask to disable it, you can see how the white that we filled on the layer mask reveals the shape that we wanted to. So just to show you another example, what I'm going to do is use the marquee tool to create a different shape. Let's say a circle. I'm going to hold Shift so it keeps its dimensions and use spacebar to move it around. Let's say here. That seems about right. I'll create a new layer. And I'll fill that with maybe purple. And I'll create a square. And then fill it with, say, green. Now, similar to before, what I actually want to do this time is so that the green stays within the circle and not outside of it. So similarly to what I showed you before, we hold Alt when we click the layer mask button, but I need to be targeting this green layer first. Just call it rectangle. And now if I give that a layer mask, Alt and click, it's disappeared temporarily, not deleted. Shift and click, we can disable the mask. Call it circle. So what I'm going to do is hold Control and then click on that purple layer to bring up the selection, and then I'm going to go to the layer mask on the green rectangle. I'm going to fill it with white. Alt and backspace, and as you can see, it's worked. I'll just disable the mask so you can see what's happening. The black areas are hiding parts of that layer, and the white are revealing. So what I'm going to do here, to show you what the layer mask is doing, I'm going to target the layer mask, hold Alt and click on it, so you can see the black areas are hiding and the white areas are revealing. So something to notice is that in between the layer and the mask is this linked icon here. So to demonstrate what this is doing is if I were to move targeting the layer around, the mask moves with it. So as you can see here, it's moved. But I'll just undo that. If I unlink the layer to the layer mask, I can move the layer independently of the mask. So as you can see, nothing's going outside the area, but what this means is it allows me to move things around and not have the mask move with it. So let's say I'll keep it there. Let's say I want to move it here. And if I link them again, see the mask moves with it. So it's the black areas that are hiding parts of it. Now again, if I unlink it and move it around. So one problem I run into sometimes is moving layers without intentionally trying to, and that often occurs if you have this selected, auto select layer. So if that's selected, you could be moving layers and nudging them without even realising. So the first thing I'd do to prevent that is to uncheck auto select. And now it will stay on this layer, circle in this instance, without selecting a different layer unintentionally. One other thing you can do to prevent layers nudging, especially if you have a document that has quite a strict layout and you don't want to accidentally move something, because the measurements have to be pretty accurate, you could just target a layer, let's say this pentagon layer here. What I'd do is I'd move over to here, where it says lock position, and I'd click on it. So now I cannot nudge it at all accidentally, even if auto select is on. Well, it just moved the next layer that it could. So it bypassed this pentagon layer with auto select on, and it moved the background. So I might even want to lock that as well. So now I can't accidentally nudge that layer. Alternatively, you could just altogether lock that layer, which would prevent anything from happening to it that you don't want to. So I hope you have learned some useful tips in this video, and if you have, then maybe consider leaving a like and subscribing. If you're interested in my art, You can find it on my Redbubble shop and other print-on-demand platforms. The links are in the description. And thank you for watching.